It was a chilly evening as I sat down to dinner with my parents. Dad was fixated on the news channel where a woman was being arrested for allegedly murdering her love for financial gain. At least, that's what the report claimed. Two officers flanked her, her hands cuffed behind her back. Who would have thought she would be a murderer? Dad muttered under his breath. I stole a glance at the news. The woman looked about my mom's age. Her demeanor initially struck me as kind, beautiful, and suddenly innocent. Upon closer inspection, her eyes were wide open yet vacant and unfocused. Her shoulders were hunched and her head hung low. Her body swayed slightly as if her physical form had become disconnected from her spirit. She appeared more like a victim than a perpetrator. She seemed broken, not guilty. But then again, criminals could come in all forms, I thought. Dad, is she really guilty? I asked curiously, as I knew he was leading the case. Why wasn't there a trial? Dad sighed, straightening from the hunched position he had unconsciously adopted while watching the news. She confessed to the crime, Bobo, he explained, a crease of unease forming between his brows. And all the evidence points towards her involvement, he said. I nodded silently, the weight of the situation settling in. All right, now, turn it off. How many times do I have to remind you to keep your professional interests outside of the house? Mom scolded. Family time should solely be family time, all right? Sorry, Dad apologized, turning off the TV. The atmosphere shifted instantly from intense to light. Mom had prepared my favorite chicken noodle soup, steaming and perfect for the weather. It had been a long time since we had dinner together. Dad had been working continuous night shifts, and Mom had just returned from a business trip. Being together again was something I had craved. This is delicious, Mom, I exclaimed. Mom beamed with a smile. I'm glad you liked it, sweetie. Honey, do you mind preparing some healthy meal for Max and his son? Dad said with concern. They seem to be eating a lot of junk lately, and I'm worried they might get sick. No worries, John, Mom replied. I'll definitely pack some healthy meals for them. Bobo can drop them off. Yes, Mom, I'll bring it to them, I replied. The next day, I took the food to Uncle Max's place. Unlocking the front door with the key Sid had given me, I entered the house. Habit formed from Aunt Nilu's rule, I removed my shoes first, placing them in the large rack before taking out slippers. Her touch was evident everywhere, a dedicated puja room for religious practices and vibrant color that created a lively atmosphere. Uncle James always admired her ability to make the house a home. But since Aunt Nilu's passing, a shadow fell over Uncle James. A wonderful woman, her absence still weighed heavy on him. It felt like a part of him had gone with her. Seeing him so lifeless, my heart ached. I entered the living room to find Uncle James lying on his back, one arm on his forehead and the other flipping through channels with the remote. Good morning, Uncle James. Mom sent you food. I'm leaving it here on the kitchen counter. Please help yourself. Oh, that's very kind of Mary. Please thank her for me, he said, his attempt at cheerfulness falling flat. Heading upstairs to Sid's room, I walked right to find him emerging from the bathroom, unclothed. Startled, he yelled, Hey, why don't you knock? Whoa, dude, maybe throw some clothes on before subjecting me to that view, I replied, frowning and rolling my eyes. Right, he said, placing a hand on his hip. You're in my room, you know. Maybe adjust your entrance strategy, okay? He smirked. Why are you acting like I'm some attractive girl? Are you trying to flirt? I retorted, disgust. His smirk evaporated, replaced by a look of mock nausea. Gross, he muttered. Suddenly he lunged and jumped into my bag. What the heck? I shouted. Get off! I struggled, throwing punches and kicks until I managed to pin him down and apply a camel clutch. He tapped the floor in surrender. Victory was mine. Just as I lined up another elbow shot, the doorbell rang. I ran to see who it was and opened the door. It was Dad. Dad, you didn't go to work today? Nope, took a leave for a day, he replied. Ah, okay. Hey, Fatso, get up, Dad boomed. Let's go, get this boy some essentials for school. High school after all. Whoa, that's great, Dad, I jumped in excitement. Sid came running downstairs, clothes already on, having clearly heard everything. No, you guys go. I just want to lay down and watch the match, said Uncle James. Dad shook his head. You can't be serious, he said. Then he turned to us. We knew what we had to do. Sid and I held Uncle James's foot each while Dad locked both his arms on Uncle James's chest from behind. We then carried him with great struggle to the car. Stop, Ed! Why can't you people just leave me alone? Uncle James's complained in annoyance. Dad chuckled. Come on, it will be fun. He then drove us to the convenience store and bought us everything. Back at Sid's place, we settled in for evening of video games. Sid and I battled it out on the console, and Dad and Uncle James enjoyed their favorite shows. Comfortable camaraderie settling between them. Later, the four of us gathered in the backyard for a feast of grilled chicken and earthy mushrooms, the smoky aroma mining with the scent of blooming night jasmine. The cool breeze whispered through the air, and the moon cast a silvery glow on the scene, making it perfect summer evening. As we relaxed, enjoying the moonlight scene and the soft music playing in the background, a soft sob cut through the air. It was Uncle James. The cheerful facade he had maintained all day crumbled, revealing a deep veil of sorrow. Tears welled up his eyes as he muttered, I shouldn't have been on the phone. It seemed the alcohol had loosened his grip, allowing the grief he had been hiding the surface. The whole reason Dad had come along was to distract him from his pain, but the opposite had happened. The source of his grief became clear. Uncle James was drowning in a sea of regrets. He mourned Aunt Nilu's accident, guilt gnawing at him for being on the phone when it happened. He wished he had reminded her to drive safely or ended the call sooner. The unfinished conversation with his late wife haunted him. The important thing she tried to tell him forever a mystery. We all knew words were powerless against his overwhelming pain. Watching him struggle was agonizing. In contrast, whenever I glanced at Sid, he seemed remarkably composed. Perhaps it was because he was younger during the accident, or maybe he suppressed his own grief for his father's sake. Regardless, he handled Uncle James's with a maturity beyond his years. Come on now, James. You need some rest. You can't wear yourself down like this. You've got to work tomorrow, remember? Dad said gently, trying to distract him. Come on, boys, let's take him to the bed. Chapter 2. A mix of excitement and nervousness filled us as we embarked our journey to high school. When we entered the school, the energy was electric. Laughter and chatter filled the air. Some groups like us were finding their bearings, while others, likely seniors, were busy bullying younger students. It was chaotic, but Sid and I found ourselves in the same class and even made new friends. So, it was a great start. Days passed by in a blur and life was going great. Until one day, while heading towards the library, I witnessed a horrific scene. A group of boys were dragging and beating another boy near the corridor. Without thinking, I went straight to one of the boys, who seemed like the leader. I pulled him away, demanding to stop. He turned around and punched me in the face. My vision blurred for a second. Just then, Sid came running. Hey, Bobby, are you alright? He helped me stand up. Seeing one of the teachers passing by, the boys ran away. The boy who was bitten, his name was Jane. That incident brought us a new friend. And the three of us became inseparable after that. It turned out that Jane was very popular among girls. Unfortunately, this was why Moto, the leader of the group, beat him. Moto liked a girl who was more interested in Jane, though Jane showed no interest in her. It was super fun to have Jane and Sid around. Jane blended so well with us that it felt like we have known each other forever. He never called us by our names though. While he called me Boobies instead of Bobby, he called Sid Noddy. Only we couldn't find a suitable nickname for him. He was kind of perfect in that way. One day while we were having lunch in the cafeteria, a group of boys sat next to our table. I turned around and realized they were the same bully guys. The leader Moto was giving us a deadly stare. While I felt a bit uncomfortable, Jane and Sid seemed least bothered, so I tried to collect myself too. As I walked home later, a prickling sensation crawled up my spine. I glanced back, but the street was empty. Shaking off the paranoia, I continued walking. Suddenly, a hard blow struck me from behind. Startled, I spun around to find the bully gang again. They doubled over, snorting with laughter, clutching their stomach. Moto stepped forward. Hey there, he said with a mocking grin. What's a tough guy like you doing all alone, huh? Didn't your butterflies come along? He reached out and pinched my cheeks. I shoved his hands away with disgust. Just get lost, I spat, gathering all my courage. Their laughter intensified. How about we walk you home then? Moto said, wrapping his arm around my neck in a supposed friendly way. I reacted instinctively, shoving him hard. He stumbled back, surprised by my resistance. A dark scowl formed on his face. So you're rejecting my friendship, huh? He said, his voice laced with plain hurt. I'm not interested, I declared firmly. Get out of my way. I wouldn't be caught dead in pathetic gang like yours. With that, I marched off, leaving them speechless. Although I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that they might attack from behind, I quickened my pace and thankfully reached home safely. Confused, I replayed the whole scene in my head. Was Moto really interested in being friends? Nah, why bully me if that was his intention? The whole situation left a bad taste in my mouth, and I pushed the thoughts aside, resolving to deal with them later. The next day at school, I filled Sid and Jane in on every detail of the incident. Whoa, is that all? Didn't Moto even hit you? Jane's reaction shocked me. Are you serious? I exclaimed. No, dummy. I think Moto has fallen for you, Jane teased, nudging me. Maybe he's gay? Because there's no way he spares anyone. Unless he's interested in that person, he joked. Oh, shut up, I swatted playfully at his head. Sid joined in. Jen might be right. I do think Moro likes you. Just look at how he stares at you every time. Jen chuckled. Look, even now he's staring at you. I glanced towards where Sid was pointing. And he was right. The guy was looking at our group, not me specifically. My breath caught in my throat. How are these two so calm about this whole situation? I thought. Chapter 3. While taking a shower, I lathered my hair with shampoo. As I rinsed, a clump of hair came loose in my hand. Panic surged through me. I gingerly touched another strand, and to my shock, it came out too. A choked scream escaped my lips. I raced downstairs, dripping wet, to show my mom. Her eyes widened in concern. She rushed me to the hospital immediately. Thankfully, the doctors couldn't find any underlying conditions. They suspected a reaction to a hair product, and the only thing I was using was shampoo. So, following their advice, I tossed the bottle and resigned myself to wearing a cap to school until my hair grew back. At school, Jane spotted me and howled with laughter. Always rocking a new hairstyle. Sid, however, looked genuinely worried. Dude, are you okay? Is this like super serious? No, nothing that dramatic. I sighed, annoyed. Just a bad reaction to shampoo. Not gonna die. Alright, Sid. Jane snickered. Love that naughty comments. He couldn't resist one last jab. Just curious though. Mind if I take a pic under the cap? Kind of forgot to check the mirror this morning. Before I could protest, he snatched my hat and held my head at an awkward angle. Sid doubled over, tears streaming down his face. Jen joined in, the laughter echoing throughout the hall. Frustration bubbled up inside me. Seriously, guys? Cut it out! I mumbled, shoving past them towards class. Sunday morning, heading to Sid's place, I saw a figure scrambling down his window. I squinted my eyes to see if it was Sid. Sid, is that you? I asked. But it was someone else. By the time I could process what was happening, the guy jumped and ran. Hey, stop there! I yelled. I followed the guy to the street. Two more guys were waiting for him on a motorbike. They drove off before I could reach them. But a nagging feeling wouldn't leave me. I felt like one of them was Moto. Hey, what's wrong? Sid came running, catching up to me. That guy, he came down from your window. Where were you? What? Sid exclaimed. I was downstairs helping Dad make breakfast. Gosh, just go check your room and see if anything's missing, I urged. We both went upstairs, but everything seemed to be in order. There were no sign of a break-in. An unsettling feeling gnawed at me. Sid, I can't shake the feeling that one of those guys was Moto, I confessed. Sid brushed it off, suggesting I was overthinking things. Just relax. Let's tell Dad about it. The next day in school, Sid was nowhere to be seen. It was weird. He never missed his class. Jen and I were wandering the school compound when we saw Moto and his gang. They were staring at Jen. One of the members clearly whispered, Oh, it seems like he didn't bathe. The other members laughed. Jen frowned. Jen, what do they mean that you didn't bathe? I asked, teasing him. God knows how they knew. Do I smell weird? He asked, looking serious. What? You actually skipped shower? I asked, trying to lighten the mood. Yeah, I don't like torturing my body every day, he said, rolling his eyes. That was an interesting fun fact about Jane. Seems like now I finally have a nickname for you, skunk, I teased. Shut up, he whined. After school, we went to see Sid. Turns out he was not home. Where did he go? Jen mumbled. We tried ringing him, but he didn't pick up. Where must he have gone? Since a weird incident happened yesterday, we were a bit worried, so we decided to go to the police station to check. I met Dad there. Dad, did Uncle James come today? Nope, he's in the hospital, he replied. What? What happened? I don't know yet. Nothing serious, I guess. Oh, that's a relief. Well then, see you later, Dad. See you, son. Saying that, we left. The next morning, Jen and I waited eagerly for Sid, and thanks to God, he appeared. Hey, Nori, are you alright? Booby has been traumatized with him missing, he said jokingly. No, guys, nothing serious. Dad lost his hair yesterday. We were worried, so we went to check up. But it turned out he too had a reaction with some products he used, just like you. Sid said coolly. Wait, what? Something was not right. My mind went into detective mode. Then something struck. Sid, by any chance, did Uncle James use your shampoo? Yes. Why? Bingo. I knew it. Sid looked at me annoyed. Will you stop beating around the bush and come to the point? Guys, listen. Uncle James was not supposed to go bald. It was you who was supposed to go bald. What? What do you mean? Sid asked. Do you remember the guy coming down from your window? And I told you that I felt like it was Moto. Well, now I can tell it was actually them. They must have gotten into your room and tampered with your shampoo. The same thing they did with me. Remember, I told you how they had followed me to my house? So I was their first victim. And if I'm not wrong, they have put the stuff in Jane's shampoo too. But since he didn't bathe, nothing happened to his hair. Ah, damn you, booby. You genius, said Jane. That's what they were talking and laughing about yesterday. Whoa, we must confront those bullies. No. Chapter 4. After school, we went straight to Sid's house to collect the shampoo. Then we went to Jane's to collect his. Since we had to confirm the assumption, we decided to apply the shampoo to Sid's dog. We washed his tail, applying both the shampoo one by one. And bang! The fur started coming up immediately. All three of us were furious. What do we do now? Sid grunted. Jane smirked. Leave it to me. On Sunday afternoon, Jane took us to an ice cream parlor in front of the Sunshine Club. We sat on each chair in front of the huge glass room where the exit of the club was clearly visible. Hey, where did you haul us this far for the ice cream? I asked in confusion. Wait and watch, boobs, he said. If nothing interesting happens, you're dead, Jane, warned Sid. Oh, come on now. Have some patience, boys, Jen said, shaking his head. Waiting patiently for 20 minutes, we saw Rosie coming out of the club with her friends. Her damp and clinging hair loosely pulled back suggested she had come out of swim. However, their face looked concerned. The pace of the walk told that something wrong had happened. What's wrong with them? Sid asked. But just after them, we saw some familiar figures walking at a fast pace, holding and touching their hairs. It was Moto and his gang. It was clearly visible that Moto had lost some part of his hair. They were looking patchy even from a distance, and clearly they were upset and furious. I turned into Jane and saw that he was grinning. Suddenly, a nervous feeling hit me. My stomach lurched. I then looked at Sid, who looked dumbfounded too. No way, he said in shock. Yes way, said Jane, looking proud. But my heart hammered against my chest. I felt uncomfortable. Thanks to God, the one-way mirror prevented those bullies from seeing us. How did you do that? Asked Sid, now looking excited. I told ya, leave it on me. Turned out, using his charm, Jane had convinced Rosie, the girl Moto had a crush on, to invite those bullies for a swim, to which he agreed readily. She had then offered the guys the shampoo which Jane had asked her to give them, the same shampoo they themselves had messed around with. You've got a rich, huh? Said Sid, patting Jane's shoulder. Meanwhile, I sat there feeling blank. The next day at school, we searched everywhere for the bullies, but they were nowhere to be seen. After a few days, we finally saw them, each one of them sporting a cap. We couldn't control our laughter. Jane rolled on the ground, making fun of them. Look at the moon! The moon! He cried. No, those are eggs. Big, big eggs, Sid added with a laugh. Meanwhile, I was looking at Moto. His death stare sent chills down my spine. I felt like we shouldn't have made it so obvious that we were the ones behind the mischief. Now I feared they would retaliate with something even more extreme. But thankfully, days went by without any casualties. Everything was oddly peaceful. And just like that, the exam approached. But just before exam day, news broke out that someone had leaked the exam papers. The school immediately went on lockdown. Teachers started searching for the culprit right away. They searched every student's bags and lockers. When the search was over, students were released to do their regular stuff. Just then, a few teachers and the principal entered our classroom. They looked furious. They called Jen and Sid's name and took them to the principal's office. I was left alone with other students. It made me curious about what could have happened. I couldn't sit relaxed. After class, I ran towards the principal's office and saw Sid and Jane come out. Sid looked furious. What's wrong, guys? I asked. They framed us, Jane said. The leaked papers were found in our lockup. We have been suspended. And I know it's them, said Sid, gritting his teeth. They've gone too far this time. I'm not going to leave them alone. A vein bulged in his temple. I had never seen him so angry. I felt bad for my friends. At the same time, I was worried. Why did they spare me? I mumbled. I don't think they've spared you. I believe they've got something more for you. So you better watch out, said Jen. I nodded. I didn't want to show it, but it kind of sent shivers down my spine. Chapter 5. Without Jen and Sid, I felt super lonely at school. I took my exams and wandered around school all alone. Most of the time, I would go to the library to escape the chaos and study by myself. One day, while I was in the library, a group of girls at the table just behind me started talking about Moto. I couldn't control myself from eavesdropping. I pretended to concentrate on my own studies with my headphones on. One of the girls talked about how Moto bullied her and ate her lunch every time, but now she would bring an extra meal for him even without asking, and he would take it happily. The other girl added, why would he eat your lunch? It's so weird. At first I thought he was bullying you, but now he comes, takes the lunch, and leaves, as if you're his sister. I mean, how weird is that? I don't mind giving him the food, the girl added. Maybe he likes the food I make for him. In fact, I kind of like him nowadays. He's not as bad as he seems to be. He's a nice guy. Nice guy. What a joke, I thought to myself. A week flew by and it was result day. Jen and Sid were back finally. I felt elated with those two around. In the classroom, the class teacher announced our results, and when he announced mine, my jaw dropped. I had failed the exam. There was no way that was right. I wasn't one to fail. I wasn't as good as Sid and Jen in sports and other activities, but at least I aced my studies, so failing was impossible. Jen and Sid were shocked too. Even the class teacher seemed surprised. He asked me to see him after class, so I followed his instruction. While heading towards the staff room, I saw Moto and his gang walking by. Our eyes met for a brief second. The smirk on his face was all the confirmation I needed. The teacher inquired if something was wrong because my bad performance surprised him. But I had no proof, only a suspicion. So instead of explanations, I simply promised to do better next time and left. The three of us gathered at Sid's place. We slumped on the couch, a heavy silence hanging in the air. Things were escalating and we were clueless about what to do next. We knew the bully gang was behind our misery, but without evidence, we were at our wits' end. Chapter 6. We went to a family dinner with Sid and Uncle James at a restaurant in town. After we finished eating, Sid and I went for a walk outside. Just then, we saw a few staff members pushing another staff member and yelling at him for allegedly stealing food again. I squinted my eyes trying to see better and spotted a familiar silhouette. I then looked at Sid and saw that he was doing the same. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Look, he exclaimed. I turned around. It was Moto. He was being pushed out of the compound by other staff members. Our jaws dropped. We looked at each other. I figured out that Sid had the same question going on in his mind. Why did he steal the food? Head hung low, Moto hurried away. Sid and I followed quietly from behind. After walking for almost 15 minutes straight, he turned right into an alleyway. He stopped and crouched. We hid behind dustbin to spy on the scene. In the corner next to an old house, Moto hugged a little boy close and sat down beside him. The sight was unbelievable. The place appeared to be a homeless encampment. Empty bottles littered the ground, and several figures sprawled on the sidewalk. Some people chatted while others exchanged curses. But what in the world was Moto doing there? We stayed there for almost half an hour, observing the scene. Then he pulled a ragged blanket over them both and went to sleep, hugging the little child close. Our eyes widened in disbelief. What in the world? Sid whispered. God knows, I replied. It was a sight that left us speechless. We returned to the restaurant where Dad and everyone else were waiting for us. Where have you been? It's going to be a long day tomorrow, so we need to hurry up. Mom bustled us. Dad dropped off Uncle James and Sid first, and then we headed home. At school, we filled Jen in on everything. His expression was as expected, utter shock. Whoa, homeless? I wanted to kill him just yesterday, and now I feel awful, he said. That idiot. Now my whole perception of him has changed. What do we do now? Sid exclaimed worriedly. Nothing, let's not let him know that we know his reality. Also, let's not cross his path anymore. The next day, Sid and I met early in the morning at the same station where we had seen Moto the night before. We searched the area, but Moto was nowhere to be seen. We approached the place cautiously. The little boy was there, playing with an old lady who seemed to be an homeless too. The lady looked at us.
Hey, the kiddos. You must be Moro's friend.
Yes, does Moto live here with you guys? I asked hesitantly.
Yes, this is his home. We are his family. We live here happily. This is his little brother Lucas. He considers me his grandma and gets food for us every time. Please have a seat.
She gestured to a broken ragged seat. No, actually, we are getting late. We came here to give this. Sid handed over a large packet of food to the lady and gave chocolate to the kid. After that, we hurriedly left. We didn't want to be seen by Moto at any cost. Now that I think of those girls talking about getting food for Moto, my heart sank. Everything had flipped. From that day onwards, all three of us would go there to provide food and clothes. In fact, Jane became so comfortable over there that the kid Lucas started calling him Brother Jane. It was funny to watch him get along so well with everyone out there. But we made sure not to tell our real names to anyone. Otherwise, Moto would find out. Meanwhile, we were curious to know how Moto ended up in such a place. It seemed he struggled with his life a lot, but weirdly, no one had any information about that. This was a secret he kept close to his heart. Just like that, it was our senior year of high school. The school year passed uneventfully, free from the usual disruption caused by the bully gang. One day, Jane and I went to see Moto's brother after school. He absolutely loved ice cream, so we treated him every now and then. While we were engrossed playing with the kid, someone yanked me from behind. I sprawled onto the ground. Everyone, including me, whipped around. It was Moto. Fury contorted his face as he grabbed my collar. What are you doing here? He roared. Hey, cut it out, bro, Jane roared. We're here to see Granny. What's wrong with you? Leave him alone. Moto looked like a volcano about to erupt. He punched Jane in the face, spitting out, Don't you dare cross my path. Just mind your own business and leave. Moto's brother, tears streaming down his face, ran towards Moto, whimpering in fear.
Cut it out, you kiddos.
Moto's grandma barked, clenching her fist.
Moto, what's gotten into you? Don't treat your friends like that. They're good kids. They always bring food. No one's ever been so good to us. Leave them alone.
Get lost, he muttered, his voice laced with venom. Don't you dare come here again. Jen helped me to my feet. We left without a word. Surprisingly, I wasn't angry at him. I knew Jen felt the same. We could only feel sorry for him. We never went back despite wanting to. Even at school, Moto would turn and walk away whenever he saw us. He seemed uncomfortable, often looking down when our path crossed. Jeez, what's wrong with that brat? I'm feeling weird seeing him like that. I would prefer seeing him creating a mess around rather than this quiet side of him, said Sid with a frown. Same here, I nodded. It was Christmas time. Jen and I had promised Sid and Uncle James to help paint their rooms. So four of us headed towards a nearby hardware store. While returning, we saw a security guard yelling and restraining a man in the drugstore. Curiosity piqued. Uncle James hurried over to investigate. We followed close behind. And there was he again, caught stealing medicine. His eyes met ours, and a flicker of shame crossed his face. I wish we were anywhere else but there. This could only worsen the situation. Since Uncle James wasn't on duty, other officers arrived and took him to the police station. The question gnawed at us: who was the medicine for? Worried if Lucas or Granny were sick, we rushed to see them afterward, bringing Uncle James along in hopes he could help Moto. Upon reaching, we found that Lucas was feverish, lying listlessly with worried Granny by his side. Uncle James took charge, helping us get Lucas to the hospital. On the way, we filled Uncle James in on Moto's situation and living conditions. A compassionate frown etched in on his face. The doctor diagnosed Lucas with typhoid. Uncle James, ever the resourceful one, took care of everything, including deciding to help Moto. Hey, boobies, isn't your mom a social worker who helps kids out? Jen asked. Yes, she is, I replied. So, can't you ask her to find a way to help Moto in her life? He asked with a serious face. Yes, the idea has been crossing my mind for a long time, but it's Moto. There's something weird about him. I don't think he would be comfortable with our help, I explained. He's right, Sid added. He would have chosen to live with foster parents if he wanted help, but he chose to live with his brother like a homeless man. There must be something going on. Back at Sid's place, we painted the rooms and sat relaxing when we heard Uncle James's car pull up. Curiosity gnawed at us, and all three of us raced downstairs. But he wasn't alone. Moto stood beside him. Uncle James surveyed our stunned silence. You three, he said. Take your friend to your room. Make him feel welcome, okay? I'll be back in a few hours. With that, he left. The atmosphere was thick with tension. I had no idea what to do. Just then, Jen broke the ice. Look who it is, patting Moto on the shoulder, he said. Come on, friend, let me do the honor and show you around. Moto stared at him impassively. Come on now, Sid interrupted. Think you can take us down in our own house? Give it a rest with that death glare. It's 3 against 1, buddy. No contest. Let's start over instead. Then he offered his hand for a handshake. Moto looked surprised. After a brief pause, he slowly extended his own hand. And just like that, a handshake marked the beginning of a new friendship. Jen, ever the enthusiast, went a bit overboard, scooping Moto up and carrying him all the way to Sid's room. It was both hilarious and nerve-wracking. I worried Moto might lose his temper, but surprisingly, a smile cracked his face. It was a moment worth remembering. In the room, Moto sat on the couch with me next to him, while Jen and Sid perched on the bed facing us. Now, tell us about your life, bro. Jen burst out, excitement bubbling over. We all looked expectantly at Moto. No, not really interested in talking about myself, he replied. All I want to say right now is thanks. Thanks for everything you guys have done for Lucas. I really appreciate it. Is that all? Jen muttered, a hint of disappointment in his voice. What else is there? Moto countered, his expression serious. Okay, at least tell us about your parents. How did you end up homeless? Sid asked. Moto sighed. Look, it's just been a few seconds since we have become friends. I don't trust you guys yet. Cut it out, interrupted Jane. I know you like us. You've been wanting to be friends with us for a while, haven't you? Don't act like we were chasing after you. What nonsense, Moto exclaimed, his face flushing red. I know, I know. That day in school, I saw you scolding your little gang to leave us alone. Jane said with a smirk. It wasn't just Moto who turned red. Even Sid and I were shocked. Whoa, when did that happen? I asked. I was secretly spying on him. The punch that day was hard, so I wanted to take revenge. But his action melted my heart, said Jane. How cringe are you, bro? Said Moto, a smile skipping his lips. We all laughed, the tension disappearing. That day marked the beginning of our unlikely friendship. Moto, a complex mix of humor and fierceness, feared nothing but losing his brother. I shared the whole story with Mom too. She was intrigued and wanted to help Moto out, but I hadn't gotten a chance to ask him about it yet. He had just begun to open up, and I wanted to take things slow and build trust first. Meanwhile, Uncle James fell in love with Lucas, so he wanted to adopt him, but Moto was uncomfortable with that. He would spend days with us, but always return back to the street to Granny. One day, we finally sat Moto down and asked why he refused any help that could improve his and his brother's lives. He took a deep breath and unburdened himself. It hadn't always been like this. He spoke. Lucas and I lived with our mom. Dad had passed away right after Lucas was born, so I was very close to mom. One day, she met a guy named Peter. They fell in love and were about to get married. I was very happy for mom. I liked Peter a lot. We had happily accepted him as a dad. But slowly, some weird things started taking place. Peter had found out that one of the renowned personalities was corrupt and misusing her power. He meticulously collected evidence to expose her, but unfortunately, the woman found out about his plan. She didn't know, however, that Peter had hidden all the evidence on a pen drive. But before he could tell mom where it was, he was killed. And mom was framed for the entire incident. They accused her of murdering her fiancé for money. Wait, how? What about the investigation and trial? Sid pressed. Moto fidgeted nervously. It's a mess. The physical evidence had mom's fingerprints. She was at the scene and she was the last person seen with Peter. Worst of all, she confessed. A nagging familiarity prickled at me, but I couldn't place where I'd heard the story before. But why did she accept it? Jen asked with concern. Moto shrugged. That I don't know. The situation had left Moto and Lucas all alone. He chose to live with old Granny in the street because she was the only one who genuinely cared and loved them in those difficult times, and he would never leave her. Finding the pen drive was the only hope of proving his mom's innocence, and a mission he clung to with fierce determination. Do you know who the lady was who framed your mom? Sid asked. I've seen her once, Moto replied. Peter worked for her on a project, so she visited our place, but I was young and I don't remember her name or where she is now. Even if I did, I can't do anything to prove her guilt. Hearing that news, a shiver ran down my spine. Jen and Sid looked equally emotional. No one could have imagined the weight Moto carried. Determined to help him, I made a plan. I invited all three of them for dinner, which they happily agreed to. Chapter 8. The doorbell rang, and I rushed to open the door. Dude, what took you so long? Jane joked. Oh, shut up. I'm not a robot programmed for instant appearances, okay? Dad appeared from behind. Hey there, fellas. Come on in. Coming! Sid and Jen greeted him warmly and entered the house. But Moto remained frozen to the spot, his posture rigid and his expression taut with nervousness. Hey, what's wrong? I asked, concerned. Nothing, he mumbled, avoiding eye contact and shuffling his feet. Dad, this is Moto. I introduced them. Hi, young man. Please make yourself at home. Dad greeted him kindly. However, Moto acted strangely. He simply nodded curtly. Dad squinted at him, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. You look familiar somehow, he mused. Just then, Mom entered the room with a warm smile. Hello, kids, she greeted sweetly. In that instant, Motu bolted from his spot. Everyone whipped around confused as rage contorted his face, his cheeks burning red. What's wrong, dude? Jane stammered, his confusion mirroring mine. She's the one, Motu roared, tears welling up his eyes. What are you talking about? I demanded, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. This is the woman who killed Peter and framed my mom, he screamed. He screamed, his voice thick with accusation. And it's your dad who arrested her that day. A horrifying realization dawned on me. A news report flashed in my mind. Dad arresting a woman. And oh god, it could be his mom. But no, this has to be misunderstanding. Dumbfounded, mom tried to defuse the situation. It's okay, son, relax. I know you're confusing me with someone else. It happens all the time. Here, have some water. She reached out a hand to pat his head in comforting gesture. Moto recoiled violently, his rage intensifying. Don't act nice. I know it's you. You're the murderer. Get off me. Seeing him treat mom with such disrespect ignited a fury within me. Blood pounded in my ears and I saw red. Before I could think, I lunged at him, my fist aimed for his face. Moto reacted quickly, grabbing my arm in a defensive hold. Chaos erupted. Mom and Jen grabbed my arms, restraining me while Sid and Dad tried to calm Moto down. Get lost! Get away from the house! I screamed, my voice hoarse with rage. Sid held Moto and took him away. The tension hung heavy in the air. Moto stormed out, leaving behind a fractured friendship. There was no way I'd let anyone disrespect Mom. Chapter 9. Moto retreated back into his world, ignoring us completely. And we did the same. But as I glanced at Jane, I saw a flicker of something. Something I couldn't quite name. It wasn't just confusion, but a deep, quiet yearning. His eyes lingered on Moto, soft with an unspoken hope, as though he wanted to believe him, to trust his words over the emptiness we shared. The pain in his gaze was a silent betrayal to me. It hurt more than I wanted to admit. Hey, why don't you just go with that loser instead of pretending to care about our friendship? I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. Jen's expression tightened, his brows furrowing as he stared at me. Are you serious? He asked, disbelief in his voice. Do you even realize how selfish you're being right now? You're putting us in a position where we have to choose between our closest friends. I get that you're hurt, but that doesn't mean you get to control how we feel. The words hit me harder than I expected, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Just leave. It feels like I'm holding you back anyway. Do whatever you want. I shot back, my voice thick with frustration. Jane's face twisted in disbelief. You're unbelievable, he muttered, shaking his head before turning and storming off, leaving me standing there, a cold emptiness settling in my chest. Dad asked me to deliver a file to Uncle James at Sid's place, but my heart plummeted the moment I saw them. Uncle James sat on the couch, engrossed in conversation with Jen, Sid, and Moto. A wave of pain and betrayal washed over me. My closest friend, like brother, suddenly felt like distant stranger. Witnessing their rapt attention to Moto's story intensified their sting. Uncle James's presence in particular twisted the knife. How could he entertain these accusations? Didn't our friendship mean anything? The seriousness etched on his face spoke volumes. He wasn't simply listening, he was considering. The weight of it all threatened to crush me. I knew something was brewing, but the emotional overload was unbearable. I couldn't stay there any longer. Dropping the package, I bolted for home, tears blurring my vision. Sid's voice calling after me faded in a distant echo. The pain was a physical entity, a tight constricting force around my chest. Never in my life had I felt such a deep, agonizing ache. At that moment, I wished I'd never met Moto. Chapter 10. At school, I studiously avoided Jane, his conflicted gaze a constant reminder of the fractured bond. Sid, however, remained by my side, but his forced cheer couldn't mask the growing distance between us. Our friendship remained a hollow shell, burdened by the weight of unspoken doubts. Exam week arrived and passed in a blur. Then came results day. Sid and I trudged to the bulletin board, a knot of apprehension tightening in my stomach. Jen and Moto were there too. Scanning the results, my eyes widened in disbelief. I had topped the exam. A genuine smile, the first in weeks, stretched across my face. I spun around, relief washing over me, and engulfed Sid in a hug. Gosh, I can't believe I topped it, I exclaimed. a joyous laugh escaping my lips. Just then, a harsh voice uttered the moment. Yes, unbelievable things happen when you have people who can influence many things. Moto sneered from behind us. Not again, Sid muttered, his face darkening with frustration. I spun around furiously, a surge of fury replacing my elation. Launching myself at Moto, I sobbed him with enough force to send him stumbling back. You filthy creature, stop your act or I'll kill you. My voice shook with fury, a scary feeling I didn't recognize. It was clear Moto's words had gotten to me more than I wanted to admit. Moto lunged at me, his fist connecting with my jaw. The world went hazy for a moment, but fury filled me. I swung back, landing a hit on him. We grappled in a messy brawl until Sid and Jen intervened. Jen dragged Moto out of the hallway while Sid held me tight. Snap out of it, Bobby. What are you doing? Sid yelled, worry etched on his face. Get away. I don't need anyone. I spat back. Sid sighed. Picking something up from the ground, he grabbed my hand and led me outside the school. There, he helped me settle on the chair and began calming me down. I know it's difficult for you, Bob, especially with him mentioning your mom. It's a significant accusation. But I've also known Moto for a quiet time now, and he's always been honest. I really hope he's wrong about the whole thing. Honestly, I'd be thrilled if it turned out to be a lie. But can you hear me out? Moto's been through a lot, lost his family and all alone now. I want to understand his pain and see if there is a misunderstanding and hopefully prove him wrong. But the key is to do it the right way. A sigh escaped my lips. I had no words. Sid was right. The thought of someone tarnishing mom's reputation was unbearable. Yet, there was Moto's mom suffering for a crime she didn't even commit. What's that? I asked, pointing at the object in Sid's hand. Oh, it's Moto's watch. It fell off him during the fight. Apparently, it's broken. And since it's the last thing he has left of Peter, he kept it close. I'll try to fix it for him. I nodded, a knot of worry tightening in my stomach. Chapter 11. Mom hosted her stuffy business party like every month, which I was not fond of. I'd usually seek refuge at Sid's place. This time, excusing myself to leave, I couldn't find Mom anywhere. Deciding not to wait, I headed for the door. Just then, I saw two figures in the garden. Their hushed conversation drew my attention, stopping me in my tracks. I was about to ignore it, but I froze as Mom's voice reached my ears. Curiosity tugged at me, and I crept closer. Just take care of that Moto kid, I heard her say, her voice laced with urgency. He's a danger to our business. Sure, came the man's reply. The blood drained from my face. What had I just heard? Was it a misunderstanding? My mind raced, desperately searching for a logical explanation. This couldn't be my kind, caring mom. Maybe she was offering help for Moto, somehow, to get him back to his feet. Yes, that had to be it. I convinced myself. Clinging to this fragile hope, I hurried out of the house. At Sid's place, video games and snacks provided a temporary escape. Laughter filled the air as we got engrossed in the game. The tension broke when Sid, in a fit of excitement, kicked the table, sending a box tumbling down. A watch rolled out with it, my eyes fixated on it. That's his, I thought, picking it up. But a hidden compartment caught my eyes. My fingers twisted the knob, revealing a secret compartment containing a pen drive. We stared at each other, the weight of the discovery settling heavy upon us. My hand froze on the pen drive. Shall we see what's inside? Sid asked. I nodded nervously. Yes, I think so. We plugged the pen drive into Sid's computer. A folder filled with pictures, videos, and files stared back at us. Hesitantly, I clicked on a document. A long list of bank transactions filled the screen. It wasn't something we could understand, so we opened a video instead. A man appeared on the screen. It was Peter. A cold red filled me as he spoke his first words. By the time you would see this video, I'll be long gone. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with dread. We forced ourselves to watch the grainy video, a horrifying window into the past. It stretched on for an agonizing half hour. 5 minutes in, a wave of nausea washed over me. Peter's words painted a nightmarish picture. My mom, a master deceiver exploiting innocent people, acquiring wealth through unethical means. He even implicated her in the accident that shattered Sid's life. The weight of his words, backed by the evidence on the screen, shattered my world. Tears streamed down my face, my body racked with sobs. Shame burned in my gut. How could I have been so blind? Hours passed by in numb silence. Finally, I dared to look at Sid. His face mirrored the devastation I felt. He placed a hand on my shoulder, his voice thick with pain. Now, everything is in your hand, he said. Those words felt like a crushing blow. My mom's betrayal hung heavy in the air, and crushing guilt settled over me. For Moto's suffering, for the pain in Sid's eyes. Why? Mom, why? What drove you to this? I buried my face in my hands, the weight of the truth a suffocating burden. The need to confront Mom burned in my gut. I raced home, clutching the pen right. I went straight to Dad's room. He was worried to see me at that hour. Everything okay, son? He asked. The words wouldn't come. Instead, I led him to my room and played the video. As Peter's chilling word filled the air, I sank onto the bed, burying my face in the covers. The weight of the truth seemed to press down on me, suffocating. I could see Dad's shoulders slumping. When the video ended, a long silence stretched between us. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice hoarse. Who else saw this video? Just Sid, I mumbled. A deep frown creased his brow. What are we going to do? I asked, lost and afraid. Leave it to me, he said with a heavy sigh before leaving the room. The following days blurred together in a haze of despair. I barely left my bed, unable to face the wreckage of my family. The happy facade we had presented to the world had crumbled, replaced by a suffocating sense of betrayal. My entire life felt like a lie. On the fourth day, I managed to drag myself downstairs, my stomach churning with a blend of fear and anger. Dad, I croaked, what did you do with the pen drive? His answer was a bombshell. I destroyed it. Shock slammed into me. What? Why? Don't you see? We have to turn Mom in. Justice needs to be served. For Sid, for Motu, for all the innocent people she hurt. Shut up, Dad roared, his face contoured in rage. Are you willing to throw your mom away for some misplaced sense of justice? What's done is done. We can try to fix things, move forward. But how can you even consider betraying your own mom? Don't you have any loyalty? His words stung. I couldn't believe my ears. All I could do was stare and wonder. Overwhelmed, I walked away, then ran, tears streaming down my face. How could I face Sid and Moto after failing them? Sid deserved justice, and Moto deserved a life free from pain. But turning in my mom felt like betraying my family. Lost and confused, I went to Sid for comfort. His hug was strong, and it made me feel better. I'm sorry, I muttered, my voice thick with despair. I tried to fix things, but Dad destroyed the evidence. Don't worry, Bubby, Sid reassured me. I have a copy. I just want to know if you're okay with me turning it over to the police. Confusion clouded my mind. A copy? I copied the file while we watched it. We've both been hurt enough by this. The guilty needs to be punished, but I don't want you to suffer too. This has caused so much pain, but it's the past. What do you want? It's not about what I want, I replied, my voice gaining strength. It's about what's right. Give the evidence to the police. I might be sad for a while, but living a lie is unbearable. Do it now. Sid wasted no time sharing the copy with his dad. Chapter 12. I woke up to the constant ringing of the doorbell. It was odd because I don't have any friends or acquaintances who know my apartment. I peered through the peephole and saw a woman standing there with a wide smile. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. I grasped the knob and opened the door. Hey, how may I help you? I asked. The woman smiled. Did you eat Bobo? She inquired. Sorry? Do I know you? I replied. Of course you know her, idiot! A familiar voice boomed from the hallway. I quickly stepped out of the doorway to see. Moto walking towards my apartment, accompanied by Jen and Sid. Chapter 12. I woke up to the constant ringing of the doorbell. It was odd because I don't have any friends or acquaintances who know my apartment. I peered through the peephole and saw a woman standing there with a wide smile. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. I grasped the knob and opened the door. Hey, how may I help you? I asked. The woman smiled. Did you eat Bobo? She inquired. Uh, sorry. Do I know you? I replied. Of course you know her, you idiot! A familiar voice boomed from the hallway. I quickly stepped out of the doorway to see Moto walking towards my apartment, accompanied by Jen and Sid. Before I could comprehend the situation, Moto pulled me into a tight hug. Thanks, buddy, he said. That's when I realized who the lady was. It was Moto's mom. I turned around and looked at her. Thank you, sweetie, she said, placing her hand on my cheek and embracing me in a warm hug. Tears welled up in my eyes. It felt so good to be held affectionately like that. It reminded me of my mom. Words failed me. Just then, Jane spoke from behind. So, this is where you have been hibernating for months, huh? I hope you have enough space for us to hang out, Sid continued. I nodded. The heaviness I was feeling was suddenly lifted as my best friends arrived at my tiny apartment, a place I had called home for a while now, away from the city and the remnants of my old life. While things may never be exactly the same, my friends' presence brought back a flicker of the joy we once shared. Having them back was all that mattered.